What's been a historic 2020 high school football season will continue for at least one more week, as for the fourth consecutive season, the Thompson Warriors will compete in the Class 7A semifinals. Remarkable job from the Warriors as they continue to just amaze year in and year out here under head coach Mark Freeman. This beautiful facility behind me will play host to that semifinal matchup this Friday night as they take on the number 2 ranked Hoover Buccaneers in what has become one of the state's best rivalries in recent years. And we're going to talk extensively about that game as we get you set for that Class 7A semifinal matchup coming up this Friday night. That's going to be a game where you've got the defending state champion Thompson Warriors looking to get back to that state title matchup, and clearly the heavy favorites to not only win this semifinal matchup, but to arguably take home the state championship in a couple of weeks as well. So a big one that's going to take place right here, a top 2 showdown between those two on Friday night. But last week also a historic week. We had 5 teams playing in the second round of the playoffs for the first time since 1997, so more than 20 years since we had had more than 5 teams in the second round of the playoffs, and not the night that we had hoped for teams advancing. We had 4 of those 5 teams lose, Thompson being the only one to advance out of their second round matchup as they get set for the semifinals this Friday night. But nonetheless, a special season for a lot of those teams, and you look at what they were able to battle through during a 2020 season that we didn't know was going to happen, with COVID-19 running rampant throughout pretty much every team so far this season. Such amazing coaching jobs, such great buy-in from the players this year, and we had a historic run for so many teams. And you look at the way last week unfolded, and really for the Oak Mountain Eagles, arguably one of their best seasons in school history. Got off to that 4-0 start for the first time in school history, and then they kind of fell off the rails a little bit, but bounced back near the end of the season to play a strong game against Clay Chalkville, upset Austin in the first round of the playoffs, and then they get the number 2 Buccaneers last week, and Oak Mountain had their chances to win that game, took an early lead in that matchup, and really controlled things early in the early portion of that game. They go on to lose that one by a final of 24-21, but you have to mention the late 4th down stop where, to most people in the stadium, looked like the Eagles had gotten the first down. The referee even marked off that they had gotten the first down, and as he starts to go out to mark the ball, ends up walking backwards. So it was a very confusing situation, one that Oak Mountain fans were not happy about after that game. Head coach Chris Bell was not happy about that situation after the game either, but he was able to be mature about the situation and say that sometimes that's the kind of stuff that happens in life, and you got to bounce back from those difficult situations. And in this situation, you've got to look at that and say it didn't end the way that they wanted it to, but at the same time, I mean, just to be in that position for this Oak Mountain team, and I don't think a lot of people realize Oak Mountain's probably a team number-wise that would be better suited in the 6A classification. They just don't have the number of kids to come out for the team like a lot of these bigger 7A schools do, and they fought so hard this season to get to that position, and that's what makes it so gut-wrenching and heartbreaking to not be able to advance. Not only that, but you had a chance to beat Hoover for the first time in school history to get to that semifinal matchup again for the Oak Mountain Eagles, I believe just for the second time in school history. So it would have been a special run for them to make it a week further, but this team's not going to be down and out come next year. Evan Smith does return to the team for the Eagles next season, and he's arguably one of the state's best returning players next year. We've seen what he's done. Even when the Eagles have a bad week, he still goes off for close to 200 yards on the ground at the quarterback position. So Oak Mountain's going to be in good hands moving forward into next season. It's going to be a tough one to look back on, but I think that's going to be something that motivates this team moving forward as well. They could easily be in this semifinal matchup against Thompson on Friday night, and that tends to make me lean a little bit more heavily in favor of one team in that matchup that's going to take place right here at Warrior Stadium behind me. But for the Oak Mountain Eagles, a special season, tough way for it to end, but the battle that they showed to turn around what was a dominant loss to Hoover earlier this year, 42-7 loss earlier this season, and to have a lead throughout that game, have a chance to win it late and only lose by 3 points, just a remarkable turnaround. And I have faith in head coach Chris Bell and that team moving forward to get things going again next season. For the Briarwood Lions, they hit the road to take on number 1 Oxford last week, and they lose that game 35-14. It was a game they led 7-0 early in that matchup, and really they hung around throughout that game and made it 28-14 late in that matchup, and then Oxford really put it away there in the fourth quarter with that great offense they have, led by Trey Higgins, who was big again, throwing and running the football. Oxford, the defending state champs in the 6A classifications, they'll continue on into the quarterfinals this week. They look to be the favorites yet again to win the 6A title. But for the Briarwood Lions, the second year under head coach Matthew Forrester, their first year back in the 6A classification, to have a chance to take down this defending state champs, the number 1 team in the state, in your first year in 6A, in your second year as a head coach, this team is clearly here to stay in the 6A classification and compete for championships moving forward. They're going to lose some key pieces off of this year's team, especially on that defensive side of the football, but this is a team that reloads every year, and they play hard and physical on that defensive side. With what you've got coming back on the offense, especially led by Christopher Vazina at quarterback, this team's going to be in good hands again next year, especially with their head coach having the experience, having been with this team for a while as an assistant before taking over as the head coach last year, and also as a former player there at Briarwood. So you've got a Briarwood team that I don't see going anywhere anytime soon in the 6A classification. And with this experience this year, competing against a difficult schedule, taking on arguably one of the top teams in the state regardless of classification, and competing with them for a large portion of that game, Briarwood showed that they're ready to handle that 6A competition, and that's going to go a long way moving forward. For the Helena Huskies, not the game that they wanted against Spanish Fort last Friday, as their playoff run comes to an end in the second round with a 40-7 loss to Spanish Fort. But that was a game also just to be in that position for the Helena Huskies. The way that they ended the season, beating UMS Wright, the 3-time defending 5A state champion, and then going into the first round, pulling off an upset victory against Carver Montgomery, and then just to advance to the second round for the first time in the 6A classification and the second time in school history. A special run for this team that lost close to 30 seniors last year. Came into this season still pretty confident with some key playmakers back, but they had to start a lot of young talent at different positions, and then you had to sit out for 3 straight weeks. 2 games they canceled due to COVID-19, 1 game canceled against them due to COVID-19. And somehow they were able to bounce back from that and win the remainder of their games to cement a spot not only in the playoffs but with home field advantage in that first round and a 2 seed out of their region. Head coach Richie Busby continues to do amazing things there for the Helena Huskies. I think this team is going to be really, really good next year with what they return back on both sides of the ball because of a lot of that young talent. If they can fill in a couple of key positions that will be missed, this is a team that's going to be one to watch. Could easily win a region championship next year with what they have returning. And for the Montevallo Bulldogs, can't hate on anything that they were able to do this season. First year under head coach Frank Boren, and they came in with basically replacing 90% of their talent from last year's team. They ended up advancing to the second round of the playoffs in his first year. This is a team that hadn't been that far since 2016. To get a lot of these young kids to battle that had arguably not played football in a few years experience-wise. These are some guys that hadn't played in their lives before, came out for the team this year as just athletic playmakers, decided to come out for the team and join Boren and buy into his system, and it worked out well for them. They had a successful year to make it to the second round of the playoffs. They lose 42-13 to Handley in the second round, but pull off that big upset in the first round in the season with a ton of confidence with the way that they played, and they're going to have a lot of players back on next year's team. I expect this team to be here for a while. They could be competing for state championships here in the next couple of years because, I mean, many of these players on this year's team were freshmen and sophomores that were getting some valuable experience, and they are very athletic. So this is going to be a team to watch there at Montevallo for the next couple of years. And we can't get through this opening segment without talking about the Evangel Lightning. Last night, the night before recording this video, on Monday night, November the 16th, they take down Ezekiel, the rival in-state, in the national championship, the NHSA 8-man national championship football game. They win that game 40-13. It was a 4-man tournament that started, or 4-team tournament that started on Saturday. They won Saturday. Then they came back on Monday, took on the in-state rival to three-peat as the state champions there in the NHSA 8-man national championship game. So a big showing from them. They win that game 40-13 after trailing 13-0 in the early going. Just dominated the rest of the way and really had a big halftime motivational speech there from head coach Tim Smith, who has just been unbelievable there leading the Lightning the last few years. And they lost to Ezekiel in the regular season 65-34. A game that we thought that they would win just simply because they hadn't lost under Smith in an 8-man football game. That was his first loss, leading the Lightning in an 8-man game. But they were motivated, and they bounced back in a big way in the biggest game that mattered to take the national championship this season for the third year in a row. Just remarkable stuff from head coach Tim Smith and what he continues to do for the Evangel Lightning. We'll talk more about those guys and their performances, the players on the field during our state championship show. Should Thompson advance to the Class 7A state championship, we'll recap Evangel's season and talk about a lot of the top performers that helped them claim that 2020 national championship. But that's the recap, the review that's happened in the last week. Now it's time to look ahead to this big matchup right here on this field behind me, as yet again, it's the Thompson Warriors and the Hoover Buccaneers for the fourth consecutive year in the Class 7A semifinals. Which one will advance to the state championship? Which one will have their season end? I have a good feeling that one of these teams has a very good shot to pick up a strong victory. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to start right now here from Warrior Stadium. To get some perspective on this game, you have to look back over the last few years, and really dating back to 2014. That was the year that Thompson went 0-10 during the regular season. Just a struggling situation here at that point in time. They hire head coach Mark Freeman. He comes in, leads the team to back-to-back 5-5 seasons his first 2 years, and then that's when it really kicked off after that. You bring in the talent that he has. You look at what he's been able to accomplish as the head coach, the staff he has around him, obviously the beautiful facility that Alabaster has been willing to give this beautiful, just in general, the school. And that really buys into the situation that you're looking at with the Thompson Warriors. They believed in what was going to happen here. They put forth the money to make this one of the best high schools in the state, and that's really helped Thompson grow. But a lot of these kids have been here through it all. They've been here, were coming up and just played incredible football and youth football in middle school, and now you look at what they've been able to do in high school. And that leads me to Connor Harrell, a guy that's been around the area for a long time, here in Shelby County. And I've talked to several coaches throughout the season, leading into the season, that this kid was a talented playmaker that was going to be good. And that was dating back to his youth football days. And now he's leading the Warriors as a junior quarterback coming into this matchup with the Hoover Buccaneers in the semifinals, with a chance to make a big statement. And he's been dominant throughout the entire season. But going back a little bit to look at how this series has unfolded between Hoover and Thompson, you look back to going into the 2016 season, Thompson had never beaten Hoover in school history, and now you look at what they've been able to do the last several years. The Warriors have won 5 of the last 7 matchups against the Bucs, including the last 4 games in a row played between these two teams, including the last 2 semifinal matchups played between the two, which is exactly what we're going to see on Friday night. Obviously, Thompson has been to the state championship 2 years in a row now. The defending state champions, after winning last year's title against Central Phoenix City, lost to Central Phoenix City the year before, bounced back, won the championship last year with Sawyer Pate leading the way at quarterback, and that was their first title since 1982 and just the second in school history. And it's hard to see behind me, but right between the goalposts back there, they have recently set up a plaque honoring those 2 state championship teams. It says state champions 1982 and 2019. And so that's just remarkable when you enter this field and you see that. The Thompson Warriors, the players, the fans, that really buys into the hype as well. for what you expect from this team now with Freeman leading the way, with the talent that they have on both sides of the ball. And yet again, here we sit going into the semifinals of the playoffs during a chaotic 2020 season. The Thompson Warriors, the #1 team, still undefeated on the season, and really they haven't had a game that they've had to sweat out at all this season. They've had some that have been a little bit close at times, and they trailed Hoover earlier this season during the first matchup between these two teams, but then they just click. This is an offense that, whether they're behind, whether they have a lead, they're going to put up points. It's almost impossible at the high school level to stop this offense, and that's what's been remarkable to watch so far this season. So you look we've looked back at the history of this series. We've looked at how Thompson's taken that transition to become a state powerhouse team now, and you know Hoover's going to want to shut that down. They want to come in. They want to get back to prominence. They were the perennial power for so long, and now you've had Thompson come in and snatch it away. So there's going to be no lack of motivation really for either team coming into this game. The Hoover Buccaneers wanting to steal that power back, get back to the state championship for the first time in 3 years when they did it a few years ago, taking down Thompson in the semifinals then. But it's going to be a tall task because this is a Thompson team. They had one goal in mind all off season, even with all the chaos going on with COVID-19. This team had one focus, and that was repeating as state champions. They knew it was going to be difficult, not only because of everything going on around them, but because everybody wanted to give them their best shot. They wanted to take down the defending champs. They wanted to prevent them from winning it again. And people are probably across the state tired of seeing Thompson be so successful and winning these state championships because they've been so successful the last couple of years at getting to that game. And while they've only won one in that time span, they've proven that they're one of the top teams in the state. And this year they've proven to me, at least, that they are the top team and the team to beat in the state right now, if you look at what they've been able to do on paper. But just breaking this game down in general, you look back at the regular season matchup, and that was a game that early on Thompson struggled with just a little bit, fell behind 10-7 in that matchup, but the rest of the way they just dominated, and it really never was close from that point forward, and they go on to win that one 39-23. And I've said this throughout the week as well, that was arguably Thompson's worst game of the season, the worst that they played. You look at Connor Harrell, who we mentioned a few minutes ago, and what he did at quarterback. Came into that game, he hadn't thrown an interception on the season, and he entered that one. He threw 2 interceptions very early on in that game, and that's part of the reason that the Warriors struggled to get going on the offensive side of the football. But you look overall, they played arguably their worst game, still put up more than 400 yards of offense in that matchup, 467 yards, and that was almost considered an average outing for them. And since then, it's just been dominant performance after dominant performance on that side of the ball. But the big difference in that game was what Thompson was able to do on the defensive side of the football. The Warriors held Hoover to just 239 total yards, including 125 yards on the ground. And this is a Hoover team that this year has been really successful at running the football. They have a couple of guys that easily can go over 100 yards, and that's what they've been successful at this year. They really haven't been as much of an air raid type offense, a team that's going to throw it all over the yard this year. They've been more of a physical running the ball type of team. And so for Thompson to hold them to just 125 yards on the ground combined between their running backs, that was impressive. But they also only gave up 114 passing yards on 11 of 29 passing. But here's the key. The defense played great, and what made them play great was they got off the field on third down. This is a team that forced Hoover to go just 4 of 12 on third downs, and you look and flip that to the other side, Thompson went 8 of 11 on third down. So that percentage difference there is huge when it comes to winning a football game. If you're getting off the field on third downs and not committing penalties, then you've got a great chance to win every football game that you compete in. And it's easy to say, but obviously you have to have the talent to make that happen, and that's why Thompson's been so successful this year. You look at what they've been able to do on both sides of the ball so far this season. This is a Thompson team that's scoring 43.6 points per game offensively, giving up 15.6 points per game on the defensive side, and that's against arguably the best offenses in the state, one of the toughest schedules in the country. And they've done it because they have one of the best defenses in the country and one of the best offenses in the country. Starting on the offensive side of the football, you look at Thompson, Connor Harrell, more than 3,000 yards passing, more than 30 touchdowns as a junior, and he can extend plays. That's what makes him so dangerous, is that he's so elusive, he's fast, but he has a strong arm as well. So his first thought isn't to take off and run the football. He's looking to extend plays because he knows the longer he does that, one of his athletic playmakers, either at the running back position or receiver, is going to find a way to get open and make a play for him. And that's happened so often this season. So if he continues to do that, you've got a strong chance to win, because you look around on this field, J.B. Mitchell, one of the top receivers in the state, could easily top 100 yards. But stepping up throughout the season also have been Ryan Peppins, who's been really the breakout star of the team this year. Such a speedy guy that he can just run right by the defenses for a touchdown, and he's done it on several occasions. I know of two against Hewitt-Trussville, one last week and one during the regular season, where he just sprinted right by the defense and was wide open for a touchdown. Sam Reynolds, another guy that can do that as a speedy athlete. And then you look beyond that, Trey Roberson, a guy that can make plays after the catch, go up and grab the ball. And Jarrett Crockett has been extremely key. Injured during the middle of the season, has bounced back, and he's gone over 100 yards in almost every game since returning, including the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. So you just look at what he's been able to accomplish on the offensive side of the football. It's just been remarkable to watch him transform from that injury earlier in the season. So to see where this offense sits, an offensive line that's doing a great job as well, they're going to put up points. There's no doubt about that. Hoover can draw up any game plan they want to. Thompson's still going to find a way to put up some points in this matchup. So it comes down to their offense being able to perform. And when you look at the Thompson defense, led by Jeremiah Alexander, Tony Mitchell, Jax Van Zant, Tristan Woody, who stepped up big time this year as well at the linebacker position, it's one of the most dangerous defenses in the country. And it's going to be difficult for Hoover to find that successful rhythm. We saw what they did last time in the regular season with just a shade over 200 yards of offense in that game. Going to have to find a way to get closer to 400 yards of offense, and that's a tall task to ask for against this great Thompson defense. Now, if they can do that, you're going to be in the game. So that's why you have to do that. But if you can't do that, it's not even going to be a close game. And that's where I see the biggest difference in this matchup. We know Thompson's going to score points, and it just looks too difficult for Hoover to be able to find enough of an offensive rhythm. Now, I think they're going to play a good football game. I think they're going to be ready. They're going to be physical. They have talent, but a lot of that talent, there's a lot of question marks right now surrounding Hoover. We saw last week against Oak Mountain, they barely squeaked that one out 24-21, a game they won 42-7 during the regular season. And a big reason why, they're dealing with some injuries at the linebacker position, and they've had some COVID-19 issues the last couple of weeks, which have forced a lot of players out of the lineup. So how healthy are they going to be? How many starters are they going to have? Because even though they're talented at the 2 deep positions, the problem is a lot of those guys are inexperienced and gaining that experience right now. So this is a Hoover team I think that's going to benefit from this next year, but how ready are they going to be experience-wise coming into this matchup against a very good, experienced Thompson team that's arguably one of the top teams in the country, ranked in the top 10 of most national polls right now. So that's where I see the biggest difference. I do think Thompson should have a big advantage, but there's always the head game. This is a semifinal matchup. There's a lot of pressure to get back and defend your state championship. You've got to stay in the moment, do what you've done throughout the entire season, because if you waver from that, we saw that Hoover could force you into a couple of turnovers. They won the turnover battle 3-1 in that first game against Thompson. So if Thompson comes out and makes those mistakes and Hoover is able to find a way to move the ball a little bit more successfully on the offensive side, then that leads to the Bucs not only having a chance to win this game, but a very good chance to win this game, because while Thompson is the better team this year, that's all it takes for the number 2 team to find a way to win. These are 2 very good football teams, well-coached football teams by experienced head coaches. They're going to be ready, and if there's mistakes made by either team, they're going to be ready to capitalize on those mistakes. So that's Hoover's best chance in this game. Come out, get Connor Harrell off of his game, find some early turnovers, and get that offense rolling out to – you can't take a 10-7 or a 10-0 lead. You're going to have to try to jump out to a 14, 17-0 type of lead if you want to be able to try to hold on to that lead to get to a victory against this difficult Thompson offense, because they can come back. We've seen it in the past, even before this year, that if they fall behind by double digits, it's no problem for that offense to find a way to get going and make some plays. And when you've got a defense like they have, they're going to find a way to clamp down as well later in the contest. So it's going to be a lot of fun regardless. These teams meeting in a fun rivalry game that's really become big the last few years. I expect that to be the case in this one as the top two teams battle for a spot in the Class 7A state championship. Can the Thompson Warriors get back to that title game as they look to defend the 2019 state championship? We do have a couple of SCR Stars of the Week from last week in the second round of the playoffs, as we had several teams advance to the second round, 5 for the first time since 1997. So we got to talk about those guys and what they were able to do in such big moments. And we're going to start with the Oak Mountain Eagles. I think that they should have been given the first down there. My opinion obviously does not matter. I'm sure a lot of Oak Mountain fans think the same thing. I'm sure a lot of Hoover fans don't think the same thing. But I've gotten messages from several people, and the sentiment seems to be that Oak Mountain should have been given that first down and at least a chance to win that football game or tie it and force overtime. Nonetheless, you've got to be appreciative of what we've seen talent-wise from both Evan Smith and Judah Tate this season. We'll start with Judah Tate. Ran the ball 25 times for 98 yards and a touchdown, and that was nothing new for him. You look at what he did this season, a physical back that enjoyed just pounding the ball away, could carry it for more than 20 times in every game if he wanted to, and easily could come close to topping 100 yards, if not doing so. So he was fun to watch this season. The last couple of years been a big key for that Oak Mountain offense. And then you look at Evan Smith, ran the ball 24 times for 210 yards and 2 touchdowns against the number 2 team in the state. He was ready to will that team to victory, played an outstanding football game, and has done that throughout really his career. But this season, even against the toughest teams, even when their offense is being shut down, he's found ways to get to that open seam, and he's seemingly over 100 yards rushing every football game. Now, his passing game, they didn't do a lot of that, especially later in the season. They stuck to what was working, which was the smart decision. We'll see how his passing game transitions into his senior year next year. If that comes along, this Oak Mountain offense could be one of the most dangerous in the state next year, but regardless, still going to be one of the most dangerous and difficult to prepare for. But in addition to the offense this year, the defense was really it was improved, and it was fun to watch how they competed. It was one of the most fun defenses to watch from a competition standpoint, because they knew they had to be physical and big, and they stayed healthy throughout the season for the most part, which was key. That first matchup with Hoover, they gave up 300 yards, more than 300 yards passing, and this time around, just 207. So a big change up from that first game to the second game, and they only allowed 154 rushing yards to a team that loves to run the football. So they did everything they needed to do to give Oak Mountain a chance in that quarterfinal matchup with Hoover last week. So overall, an impressive season from the Oak Mountain Eagles. A lot of fun to watch what they were able to do during really a historic season, and we'll see how they're able to bounce back and follow that up next year. For the Montevallo Bulldogs, Kyle Cottingham, he closed the season out with 150-plus receiving yards in back-to-back games, finished the game with a touchdown last week, and he's going to be a guy that's just impressive to watch in the future in general. Such a talented athlete, and really turned up his game on both sides of the ball. Had, I believe, 5 combined interceptions over the last couple of weeks of the season, so big on both sides of the ball this year. For the Thompson Warriors, Connor Harrell only threw for 175 yards last week in that win against Hewitt-Trussville, 14 of 22 passing, but threw 4 touchdown passes in that game and ran the ball 12 times for 100 yards. So did it both with his feet and his arm in that game. We'll see what works best this week against Hoover, but that's what makes him such a dangerous quarterback here in the 7A classification. Jarrett Crockett, like I said, been playing great football. He ran the ball 18 times for 119 yards and a touchdown in that game against Hewitt-Trussville. Hewitt-Trussville's got a good defense, and you're seeing Thompson put up these kind of numbers. It's remarkable to see what they were able to do. And Ryan Pepins, another guy that's been stepping up, had such a big breakout year, 6 catches, 84 yards, and a touchdown. J.B. Mitchell, 6 catches, 74 yards, and 2 touchdowns there for the Warriors in that win. And then you look at the defense. Jax Van Zant and Jeremiah Alexander led the way with a combined 13 tackles. Jeremiah Alexander, obviously, a big fumble recovery in the game as well that really kind of helped turn the momentum a little bit. And the secondary was big as well. Tony Mitchell played a good game, but the entire secondary played a very good football game. They were flagged for a couple of pass interference calls, maybe 1 or 2 of which was warranted. A couple others were a little bit confusing because they were so perfectly defended. But this secondary overall just played a fantastic football game. And I forgot to mention on special teams, Ryan Pepins also with a 76-yard touchdown return on a kickoff. There was a little pooch kick that Hewitt tried there, and it just did not go well. And Pepins took it to the house after getting some great blocks and making a few moves. So those are our SCR Stars of the Week. For the second round of the playoffs, we'll see how these Thompson Warriors step up going into this semifinal matchup. I expect to name a few of these guys again. Next week, we'll also name some of the Evangel players from their national championship as they three-peated as national champs on next week's show as well. So that's going to do it for this week's show. Another one down in the books as we get ready for the semifinals of the Class 7A state state playoffs. Just remarkable, again, to be able to do a show previewing a semifinal matchup for the 4th consecutive year. Just unbelievable to see what Thompson's been able to do the last few years. And hopefully we get a trip to the state championship down in Tuscaloosa as well here in a couple weeks. Thompson wins this, they'll play in that state title game in Tuscaloosa. For the 3rd year in a row they would play for the 7A state title, and that one would take place the Wednesday after Thanksgiving. So 7A teams get the full week of Thanksgiving off as far as no games, and then would be the first to play a state championship game in Tuscaloosa that following week. So a big week ahead. This is going to be a fantastic battle between 2 rivals in the 7A classification, the top 2 teams in the state. One of them is going to advance to the state championship. One of them is going to go home. Going to be a difficult matchup for either. We'll see how they capitalize on the opportunity Friday night. I'll be here pregame show hopefully around 5 o'clock to 5:30, somewhere in that range, on Facebook Live to get you ready for what should be an exciting night of high school football.